Alright everyone, I actually have about 7 videos, maybe 8 lined up at the moment, so half of them of course I can't even do till tomorrow because you gotta hold yourself back a little bit because otherwise you flood people and then, basically your videos start competing with one another. We've got to start talking about the Dem debate though first because of course the 7th Democratic debate was the other day and it's a fiasco. Now, I like to sometimes analyze things differently from other people. In order to analyze things properly, you have to put away your bias. So I've decided consciously not to even watch the debate. What I did this time, and I've done this a couple of other times so far in this election cycle, is instead I looked just at the analysis of the debate from left-wing groups. And I can tell you that the debate was a disaster without fucking even watching it. And here's why. When I look at the analysis of the debate, people saying, oh, here are the top 3 highlights of the debate. There are 2 things that stand out that almost every single group is talking about. And boy, oh boy, are they terrible for the Democrats. The first one is, Dems so white. There were no POC at the debate. Andrew Yang was discluded because, of course, I don't think he had enough polling. Whereas Bloomberg, who should have been there as well because of his numbers, let's face it, he was discluded because I think he didn't have any donors or anything. It didn't make any sense. So essentially the debate stage was entirely white. Mostly older people. 4 out of 6 of the candidates are geriatric. Most of them rich. Steyer certainly fantastically wealthy. Biden and Warren are quite wealthy. Sanders and Buttigieg are just like working rich level. And this is standout. And then Klobuchar is somewhere in the middle, I believe. But these are people that are well off. White. The average age on stage was something like late 60s. This stands out. That's not a good thing for your debate to stand out for, because a lot of people at this point have basically tuned the debates out. I believe this is the final one before Iowa and New Hampshire vote anyway, if I remember correctly. I think, isn't there a debate between that and South Carolina, and I think then basically it's smooth sailing on through Super Tuesday before you pick up again. That's not a good thing for the debate to be known for. And then number 2, and this is the real damning part, was that everybody was fixated on Sanders and Warren. I saw so little about Biden in any of the analysis, just flipping through the different news articles. These are from mainline corporate publications. You got to understand, a Dem partisan's going to vote for whoever the nominee is. It doesn't matter what they think. They're going to vote for the nominee. At that point, it becomes the turnout related, and that's the only thing that matters. Certain people will not vote for the Democrats based on what they say. They could never vote for them, for partisan reasons. They're part of the Trump fan club, the third party, apolitical, whatever. The number of people who a debate is aimed towards is actually relatively small. Mostly it's people who lean left, some never-Trumpers on the center-right that maybe they find 1 or 2 of the Democrats palatable. They're saying, well, maybe I could vote for them, or maybe I'll have to stay home or even vote for Trump, depends on who the nominee is. Certain groups of people. When the 2 people that are actually being spoken of almost exclusively in everything related to the debate are Sanders, the geriatric socialist, and Warren, who's already had a hard peak, is on her way down, and is in a distant 3rd place, the person at the front of the field who, numerically speaking, and as far as the polling aggregates go, probably still gets nominated, the wind has been sucked out of his sails. Biden's an afterthought. The front runner was an afterthought after this debate. That's basically the takeaway. As for the lower end of the field, like the idea that Steyer, who averages like a 1.2, 1.3 or something in RCP, the idea that he does well at a debate and magically becomes the nominee, that's not going to happen. He's in it to be a money man like Bloomberg. He knows he's not going to win. Bloomberg, I don't know why the fuck he's even still in there. Apparently none of his ad money. $200 million spent. Not a penny on Iowa. And I don't think any in New Hampshire, almost all in the Super Tuesday states. He's trying to run a chaos game, gobble up a handful of delegates here and be a kingmaker, basically. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. I could probably do 4 videos today just on them. Because they have completely annihilated the other candidates in regards to getting attention right now. We have, for instance, let me take you through a list of the last 48 hours on all the weird shit that's happened between these 2. And here's really the story of this particular moment in the race is really their feud between the 2 of them. Debate ends. The takeaway, and several people messaged me this, was that Warren went around the stage and Sanders too, and they shook everyone's hands except for one another's. And then they appeared to squabble for a minute before Sanders threw up his hands and turned around and walked away. So obviously the fact that they kind of sort of looked like they were conciliatory in the debate's bullshit, and they're going to keep hashing it out. The Warren camp makes a bald-faced lie claim about Sanders, saying, and then he was questioned about this, and he refused to take the bait, which is to his credit to an extent. Asked Sanders about this, did you essentially say what Warren is saying, which is back in 2018, did you tell her you didn't think that a woman could win the presidency? He's like, no. And basically, fuck off, I'm not talking about it, that's what Trump wants, it's what the legacy media wants, which is kind of true because they're tabloids, they want clickbait. Warren, of course, does her passive-aggressive thing, comes out and says, well, I disagree with Mr. Sanders. Like, how can you disagree? The man's saying he didn't say that to you. You're fucking lying. Who cares if you disagree? So there's one problem, is Warren's claim. Then Sanders has the Veritas relief problem, which is ironically now taking a backseat to a bigger problem, which is that some of that campaign literature that was spread around last week that raised the ire of Warren fans and sort of cocked some eyebrows. The Sanders campaign was claiming that the document that was circulated that had like talking points on Elizabeth Warren being unelectable because she only appealed to like the highly educated and like the waspish voter base of Dems and people who traditionally vote Democratic anyway, like the suburban soccer mom crowd. That was initially cast off as rogue employees made that. That was never authorized. Whoops, it turns out it was, and it was widely circulated. And the Sanders campaign admits to it right before the debate, probably so that it won't be asked at the debate, will be forgotten by the next debate, and will be drowned out by coverage of the debate. Very smart timing for them. That's a problem. It's a problem because it makes Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren's campaigns look like complete cutthroats towards one another. It's like two groups of pirates. Like towards any other candidate, they're like, well, you know, they sort of brush it off and they don't really care. Like they don't talk too much about Biden. They'll jab at him, but it's not on the same visceral level. I'm almost thinking that they're in the game together, and that the whole idea is just to drain attention away from Joe Biden and maybe get one of them nominated. But the problem is these people don't work well together, so you can only nominate one of them. It'd be very funny if Sanders chose Warren as a running mate. It'd be very funny if Warren chose Sanders as a running mate. Either of those, by the way, would sink their campaign because it would be basically a geriatric person allocating another geriatric person whose fans fucking hate him. Be hilarious to see them try to hash that ship of state together. Wouldn't be a ship. Maybe a dugout canoe with a few leaks in it at best, I guess. Trump, meanwhile, on his steamship, fucking totally runs him over and throws him through the wheel mechanism. No, I mean, looking at the debate, looking at just the coverage, you can sort of discern what happened. Because remember, perception over reality. The reality of what was said on the debate stage doesn't matter. It only matters how people react to it. The debate doesn't matter. Nothing said there. Doesn't matter what proposals were made. Doesn't matter who got the better of another person in an argument. That's all trying to be objective. It's the subjective opinions of the voting public that matters. So I can just look at the analysis and say if 90% of these groups are fixating on the fact that there were only white people up on stage and Sanders and Warren don't agree with each other, that's optically a huge loss for the Dems. I said before the debate the other day, at this point, the Democratic debates are almost an advertisement for Trump every time that they're held. They're a Trump rally more than they are a Democratic debate. The Democrats have said all of their proposals. Some cases, they don't have any proposals. Their proposal is, hey, I'm here, I've got a D after my name, and I'm electable. And that's basically their selling point. You get half a dozen people still in the field that basically fall into that category. Some of them don't even say that, like Tom Steyer. We don't even know what he's about. Did he even say so at the debate? Maybe he did, but nobody cares. I certainly don't care. I write him off as unelectable based on the fact that he has no support. He doesn't even have Democrats supporting him. Partisan Democrats probably wouldn't support the dude. Same with Bloomberg. So when I look at the coverage of it, I say the other thing is Buttigieg. Of course, I've consistently said if he gets his day in the sun, he has a shot at it. But the thing is, when the coverage is all about Sanders and Warren, or about the lack of Andrew Yang, or Tulsi Gabbard, or some other person who's not strictly white up on stage, with Cory Booker just dropping out and also Kamala Harris out not that long ago, it becomes optically, it's impossible for the Democratic Party to be woke and also have that be the debate stage. It didn't make any sense. It makes absolutely zero sense for the Democrats, by the way, to have tightened up the debate that much anyway. There's no reason to. They could keep it open for a 7th or 8th candidate at this point in the race. There's still a packed field. There's no reason for them to disclude Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard especially. And Bloomberg should have been up on stage. He's polling above 5% nationwide. That's technically, he's in 5th place. You've got Klobuchar up on stage. You got Steyer up on stage. What the fuck isn't Bloomberg up there? Why isn't Yang up there? You don't have to like these people, but at the very least, you should be even-handed in your application of the rules. That's the glaring, perception-wise, a glaring problem right now with the Democratic Party. The bigger problem, though, is that when you have Sanders and Warren gobbling up all the attention right in the debate and prior to it, and therefore for several days probably now after, nobody else gets any breathing room. It doesn't matter if Buttigieg had a good debate, he doesn't get a boost. And so instead you have the unelectable socialist and the unelectable chronic liar. And these are the people gobbling everything up. Also, these people have self-righteous fans. You try confronting the Bernie bros and say anything about Elizabeth Warren that's even remotely positive. Try confronting Warrenite fans and saying something nice about Bernie Sanders. See what kind of reaction you get. Keep in mind, these people do vote in the Dem primaries. Who's voting in the Democratic primaries? I've encouraged all my fans to turn out and vote for Joe Biden because I don't want to see Sanders nominated and end up going on to make my state an embarrassment. But that being said, who primarily votes? It's the Democratic partisans and people who are ideologically on the further left. Which, by the way, it does give the far-left candidates a little bit of a boost in the primaries. It's something that they wouldn't get if they were already the nominee and they were in a general. Well, some of that support disappears. It's a little bit of a different paradigm then. It's a little bit different. I question whether either of these two people, by the way, can move close enough to the center in a general election and not get completely destroyed. I question whether Warren or Sanders at this point in the campaign haven't made enough far-left proposals, enough policy proposals that are extremist, so that it would be impossible for them to move even slightly further into normal leftism, let alone center leftism for a general election without alienating their own fan base. Of course, if they do that, then they get smacked in the cock and lose. They got to play it's like walking a tightrope between appeasing the core fans you built during the primaries. Trump had to do this. And then pandering, essentially, to the centrists, the undecided voters, the independents, sometimes the semi-apolitical within a general election. I think that it'll be difficult for them in looking at the debate fallout, looking just at the analysis. I don't even have to watch highlights from the debate, as in the candidates in their own words. I can just look at the write-ups about them from various groups, Vox or Axios, Huffington Post, and a million other sites, CNN. The story of the day is the Democratic debate was all white people, mostly old, rich white people who have been in politics too long, and two of them, to the exclusion of all others, capturing all attention simply because they can't fucking leave each other alone. That's what I saw. That's about all. Peace out.